Here we go again.
Your dog is just sleeping and just minding its own business, and it's just like minding its own business. The dog, and then there are times it just looks at you. It's like, what on earth are you talking about?
Yeah, speak of the devil.
Shuffle over so we can get the camera. Come in the camera. That's it. Bribe it with food.
Oh, all right.
There we go.
Oh, well.
There we go.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom 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 nom. Indeed.
I think he's feeling a bit shy tonight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another round table chat here. Myself, Reganelite, and I've got three wonderful guests, which many of you know because we all have a joint-based multi-community here because we all subscribe to one another and all sorts. So I hope you guys enjoy it tonight. Below me is the mighty Tam, Daily Blase.
Yeah, the mighty Bantam, yes.
Yes, the Bantam.
Yes. Not going so well at the moment. but you know, well, it is what it is, you know. We're still up there, so
yeah,
can't go
we are indeed. And then how can we not have Mr. Power to the People? I like saying it like that. Graham Price. I just always like that power.
Yeah.
I do love that name, that YouTube name. It's so cool.
Speaking of the word power, do you know, being a mighty Bantam, do you know who our captain is for Bradford City? What a name this is. Best name ever. Max Power.
Oh, it took the name after. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode where he had Max Power for that episode. Remember that there. And of course, our good friend, of course, Mr. Dave McGuinness. David, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Oh, very, very good, guys. Make sure if you're not a subscriber to any of our YouTube channels, links for them all are in the description down below. If our wonderful moderators could plug them as well in the duration of the live stream, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. And just quickly want to say thank you, Mr. E, for the very £1.49 super chat right at the start. Really much appreciated. Thank you so much. That's very, very generous of you. Guys, I do have a couple of topics here, but a couple of different topics. Let's just get the. I suppose we might as well talk about the nonsense happening in number 10 then. The so-called coup or plot to oust Keir Starmer by West Streeting. I don't know how realistic it is, but I think here the clock is definitely ticking on Keir Starmer. We don't know when it's going to be, whether it's going to be the budget or whether it's going to be the local elections. There's all sorts of rumours around it. Keir Starmer this morning apparently did apologise to West Streeting over the so-called meeting. Number 10 have insisted that he was not Morgan Sweetie, that he had nothing to do with it whatsoever, and that he would not be going anywhere, according to BBC sources apparently there. Darren, we'll start with you. What do you make of this farce of this coup? Is there actually something here, or is it just a lot of hogwash talk, really?
Whether you like West Streeting or not, it's immaterial. He's quite a shrewd and canny operator, and he will have he will have ambitions. So, and quite clearly, he's quickly come out and said this is utter nonsense, which he has to do, really, because he's got to be shown to be a team player, I suppose. But it just looks like absolute calamity after calamity in that number 10. It just seemed, do I think he is involved in anything? I honestly don't know. I honestly just don't know. I wouldn't like to say, but I think it's obvious that it won't be. Will he last till the budget? I think probably will do, won't he? Will Starmer and see where it goes from there. But but I think it's if your ratings are worse than Liz Truss, you're in trouble, aren't you?
That does say a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
David, from a Scotland perspective, how much does this like just looking at this and just like thinking of this from a Scotland's perspective, how pathetic this Labour government have been on this all? Like, it really is like pretty embarrassing, to say the least.
Well, I'm only going to cover the last 24 hours on this one. And when we talk about the behaviour and within the leadership of the Labour Party, this tells me that we have a leader who's caught in the headlights like a rabbit, and he's seeing shadows everywhere as the cars approach him. So I think Starmer knows his days are numbered, and he was looking to advertise a plot to solidify support around himself, and I think it may well have backfired. And I think that's down to the way that Morgan McSweeney thinks. He's an opportunist, and when he sees a crack, like he did at the last election, knowing that the Labour Party weren't fit for government, but people were sick of the Tories.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to solidify around, get the MPs to solidify around the leader. I also have heard that there was 50 MPs willing to resign the whip and sit as independents to take away his parliamentary majority. So
that many?
They're beefing against each other, and within the regime, that's no good thing.
No. Graham, how do you feel about what's happening with Labour? I mean, it's just, it seems like it's been what, a year and a half now. Labour have been in government, if I correct me if I'm right, over a year and a half, shall we say? Like, considering from there to here, like, are you actually I generally, Graham, do you think, are you surprised that the wheels have come off as quickly as they have for this Labour government?
Yes, I am surprised. I had some faith in Starmer. I thought that, you know, he's a human rights lawyer. He's a very competent man. He's achieved things in his life. I thought he'd be a great prime minister, and I do think I think there's been relentless attacks on him through social media and stuff, and no prime minister has ever had to deal with the level of social media that a prime minister nowadays does. But I still think that he's not done well enough. It's a bit of a controversial thing to say. I've mentioned it in a couple of videos. I think Andy Burnham would do a better job, or Angela Rayner. I mean, I think Angela Rayner might be out of question because of what's happened to her recently. But I think Andy Burnham, if he could stand for in the next by-election and get into and become an MP again, I think Andy Burnham could do it. I literally know some people who are talking to me about voting reform because they hate that. They say that the Tories and the Labour are a uni party and they're looking for a third option. But they say they'd go back to voting Labour if Andy Burnham was leader. I know quite a few people like that. Yeah. And I like Keir Starmer. I think he's a good man. I think he's achieved great things in his life. But I think this isn't one of them. He's failed at being a prime minister.
Yeah, he just seems to be scared. He seems to be scared to do something. And if you're too afraid to do something, you're not really going to do anything, are you?
He should have grabbed that massive majority he had and used it to make sweeping changes to the whole nation. Yeah. And he hasn't. He seems to have just grabbed onto. Well, to be honest, though, Wes Streeting's the same because he's done the same thing, especially with trans people. But they seem to be just having a look at what the Tories had going, maybe tinkering with it a little bit, and then just carry on with what the Tories are doing. And that's not good enough. That's not what we expect from a Labour government.
I think that's the thing. They promised big, as most people do. And the thing they always promise on is a social contract between the government and the people. And that's where their failings have been.
Absolutely.
when we look at public services, that's where their failings have been.
Yep. And
their failings have been basically based on vanity projects which went wrong. I mean, the biggest vanity project that went wrong was Margaret Thatcher's idea that the private sector could do things better than the public sector.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the fucking mess that's got us in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really, I do wonder how much of it is it on Morgan McSweeney rather than Keir Starmer. I do wonder, and I really do wonder, like if, like I know it's a bit hypothetical, but if Morgan McSweeney was to go, if he was to be sacked, if he was to be pushed aside, would we see a significant change in direction from this Labour government? I think
we might see a change in direction, but I don't think it'd be enough. I don't think it'd turn Keir Starmer's reputation round. I think the British public has judged Keir Starmer and judged him not worthy, and I don't think that's going to change.
I think it's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Because I think you've heard this term a lot. He doesn't really believe in anything. So you know, he seems to have this notion where he ain't on any side. Well, if the times are going tough, if you don't have any in a faction, that's where you're going to be alone, aren't you? Really, because who's gonna defend you?
Yeah.
Keir Starmer reminds me of a John Major.
Yeah.
The great man of politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's just a carbon copy of a John Major and a red rosette.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's done enough to be considered a good man, but he's not done enough to be considered a good Prime Minister.
He's not done enough to be considered a good leader.
No.
He's indecisive. And
that's the key thing.
We've had a few of them. You know, with John Major, with Gordon Brown and his short tenure. Very indecisive people. And after those, what seemed to come next was just pure madness.
Yeah.
David Cameron and George Osborne. A marriage made in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
A semi aristocrat and a hedge fund millionaire, as well as an old style English gentleman.
Yeah.
Wasn't a good mix.
And I suppose also
that came Theresa May and her racism.
Yeah.
With the vans in London. You know, and then we moved on for that to Boris Johnson. Wow. A notorious liar.
And he was the Prime Minister during pandemic.
And he made things worse. Lizzie dies. And the moral head of England's now an adulterer. And Freddie, a notorious paedophile. I think it's time to start again.
Yeah. The question is, another question is obviously, I do want to touch on the budget in a bit, but the question I suppose is, if Keir Starmer doesn't survive the budget, or if by some miracle he happens to cling on to the local elections, and I think that would be really pushing it, if pushing it for Labour, because so a lot of people have said that it will drag on to the local elections, but I don't see Labour doing well in the local elections at all. Like I just see them getting wiped out in Wales and seeing them pushed back in Scotland, and they're going to get hurt in parts of England because people are looking at reform. Young people are looking at the Greens. They're getting tugs from the left and the right. They're not doing policies that are appealing. They're doing policies that are trying to appeal more to the right, I would say. But even that's not appealing to those on the right because, well, they've already kind of made their minds up about, you know, with Reform UK or Reform Russia, as I like to call them, because they're a different party, because they're new, there's something different. For no matter how much we all talk about like how terrible Reform Russia is and how much damage they are causing, the rhetoric, the language, and things that they're doing as councillors, especially in Kent County Council, for example. People are still willing to give them a chance simply because they're different.
Yes.
And that's really frightening. There. That really does frighten me. Sorry, Steve, thank you so much for the $20 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it, my friend.
Hey, well done, man.
I just think in particular with Labour, like they've just not been strong enough when it comes to tackling reform, and they've just been doing a lot of what the Conservatives have been doing, and that is trying to out Farage and reform on their policies, and it's just like you can't do it. You just can't do it, and it's just a case of why follow them? Do your own thing. Like why you follow like. And one of the biggest earaches, and this is, I think it's been mentioned a few times by a couple of I think Phil Morehouse mentioned this, I think, as well, as an idea. Like, why are they not doing like something like a daily briefings every day in number 10 or something like that? Because if you do something like that, you're controlling the narrative, and you're the government. People have to listen to you anyway, regardless of whether it's politics, news, whatever it is. Yeah, there is. People have to listen because you're the government at the end of the day. So why are they not taking control of the narrative? Like, do daily briefings. Do it every day. Like, hire a press secretary literally every day. Like what they do in fucking America. Like Caroline Levitt gives out, takes questions, all that nonsense stuff. I know it's more Americanized, but what you're doing is that you're getting out your policies, your plans and whatnot, more to the people. Instead of Nigel Farage with a tweet or doing a press conference and he dominates the conversation, or you're hearing, or Zach Polanski, who's literally going everywhere and he's absolutely all over the place right now on the left. Like he's absolutely smashing it from the left perspective. Like, you're the fucking government. Take some control of the narrative, and because as long as those on the left and those on the right control the narratives, you're not going to control the narrative. And you're not going. We know you're not going to win the media over, because everyone wants you gone either way.
Obviously,
like
90% right wing.
Yeah, 90% right wing.
Also, the thing is, I can't remember where I heard it, but I thought it was a really, really interesting conversation about the situation with Keir Starmer when he was a lawyer. Like they said he was much better in front of a judge than in front of a jury.
That sounds like it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, because because he said he found it difficult to influence the jury. So I think that speaks volumes, because I can imagine his youth days had been spent nose deep in all them books and whatever. Well, me and I'll have been falling through the door, absolutely trousered and acting like the idiot that I still am, really. But you know what I mean. But
didn't stuff you have to read to become a lawyer.
Yeah. And he did good things as a chief prosecutor. He did good things as well. He did good things. Like, he really helped people. It's like he really made a difference to people's lives. Yeah. And here's the other thing as well, right? I just want to say, I know there is this argument, and I've heard this argument, and it is a fair argument that people have said, is that it takes a long time to implement certain policies and whatnot. Yeah. And there was a lot of policies that they have put in from the King's Speech and whatnot, and it's taking time to get through. I understand that as a government, you're never going to please everyone. You're always going to make difficult decisions. You're going to always upset everyone. You can't please everyone. I understand that. I understand that it's, and they've taken over from one of the worst fucking political parties in history, in the Conservatives, and what they have done. I understand that. They've left an absolute fucking mess. I get that. I understand that. But what I wanted to see is showing that you're willing to do something for the people, rather than just constantly
a positive message
over and over again. Yes, that's what we need. And even on the steps of Downing Street, Keir Starmer didn't really offer hope. On his very first speech as Prime Minister, didn't even offer hope. And that was the thing. Like people want something.
It wasn't a great speech either.
Yeah, it wasn't a speech that says to me, good times are coming again. Like, it wasn't anything like that. It was like, we've got difficult task ahead. And it's just like, mate, we've just gone through 14 plus years of hell with the Conservatives. And you're telling us, dark, difficult times are coming ahead. Like, give some optimism at least. And you can't even do that. Go on, Davey. I know you want to step in.
Eternal spin, isn't it? That one was the bad guy. And we're going to take years to recover for his damage, so keep voting us. You know?
Yeah. It's not much of a positive
message.
If
you're a smart political party, you do what Alex Salmon did. You come to power and you offer a new social contract to people and you fulfill it.
Yes. Proper change.
That's why we've integrated social care in Scotland. That's why pensioners have free bus fare, free bus travel at 60. Children don't pay bus travel between 12 and 22-year-olds to give them a start in life. There is no eye test fees. There's no dental test fees. You might, if you're an adult who's working, have a wee bit 12% of the cost you pay for the treatment. The reason mine's are no fixed is because we've still got a pandemic backlog here. Because all the Polish dentists left because of Brexit. You know, there are consequences to the actions that have been taken by the electorate. And Brexit's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially been devastating to the NHS. But the general public have to take the responsibility for it because it's what they voted for.
Yeah, but people.
So when we look at the decline, we can put it down to the bad decisions made by the general public over the last 50 to 70 years.
Yeah, you get the government.
There is a two-pronged situation in that as well, because you had at that time, and in the run-up to the general election, we knew that there were things wrong about Labour because we've heard the stories, we've heard the businesses and whatnot getting into Labour's pockets. We know that that a lot of so-called people on the left were purged when Keir Starmer took over as well. There were a lot. They made some promises. Like the thing that stuck out for me as well. Stuck up was the WASPy women that they never kept to that. Oh, but now they say they might magically out of nowhere have a change of heart somehow. You know, that one just stuck for me. But
that's the most cynical thing I've seen. The most cynical thing I've seen is this saying they're going to look at it again. We've found a new report which came out on March 21st, 2024, before Labour voted into power. So they've just found it. No, it was published in the Congress Library. They all knew about it.
Yes.
Okay.
This is nonsense.
They just kept it. They've kept it there as a get out of jail free card, just in case, guys. If it gets too much.
This is a carrot on a string for votes again. They're trying to take people for granted. We'll look at it again. We'll have a review. We'll come back shortly. Vote for us in the meantime. Shocking stuff.
Yes, Mr. Reed. Westminster does it to you, not for you. Yeah. Definitely feels like that for sure. One last question.
That's how I've felt for the last 15 years.
I was going to just, before we have a look at what could come in the budget, last thing on this. Is it going to be West Streeting? And I suppose a question is, who would you rather have, West Streeting or Keir Starmer? Now, I know the obvious answer is neither, but if you have no choice and we've got to stick with one of them, who are you going to pick? And if I'm going to be blatantly honest, based on everything that I hear about and read about on West Streeting, I would rather have Keir Starmer.
I'll wait my turn and think about it.
All right, Daly, you've got to choose between Keir Starmer and West Streeting. Who are you picking?
I suppose in a way,
chat, you got to pick two, chat. Who are you picking?
Yeah, go on.
I suppose it depends on what you personally. Well, you know me, I'm so laid back and practically horizontal. So
your mother always used to say that about me.
Yeah, and for me, I when it comes to Keir Starmer, you know, I like the way he tries to be, you know, go through the figures and whatnot, and I don't mind that at all. But the trouble is, people are not gonna. and they've already made up their mind, aren't they? I cannot really see him coming back from this. I just really cannot see it because, like as you said, David, it's rabbit in the headlights look. And whether you like Wes Streeting or not, he likes a good political knockabout, and he's on top of and he's on top of his briefs, and if you want a bit more perception, because it's all perception, isn't it? When it comes to because like. Don't get me wrong. I understand why you're not fans of Wes Streeting, but when it comes to the political knockabout, he is good at it, and he'll put his face out there, and he won't shirk any political knockabout, you could say. So, for me personally, I like. There's one or two others who I do like. If I had my personal choice. I won't say no to Darren Jones, but if it's a choice between Wes Streeting, or Keir Starmer, that is a tough one.
Yes. Yeah, I know it's pretty horrible.
I know it's controversial, but I think I would possibly go with Wes Streeting because I think he's quite confrontational, and I think I've watched him across the dispatch box, and he's very, 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 very good at it. Don't get me wrong, I don't like his politics, but he's good at what he does.
David.
Whereas Keir Starmer isn't.
For me, I'd keep Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
For a Scotland
you don't.
perspective.
Yeah.
You see what Wes Streeting's doing to the NHS here.
I'm sitting in a different country, being told by the BBC every day that everything in my life is shite and I'm shite, and I'm looking across the border and going, "Fuck me, if this is shite, that's chaos."
Yeah.
So you've got to remember, I've got a different perspective.
Yeah.
Keir's a gift. I don't know if Wes Streeting's going to be a gift, but I know that Keir's a gift. He's a continuation of Bojo and Liz Truss for us. It's just a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And most of us on the left can see these missteps before they happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, go on, Graham. Listen, by the way, it's not like you're gonna be hamstrung by the chat, if you pick a side, because both of them are terrible.
Whenever I do anything live, I deliberately don't look at the chat because I think it throws you off and you can't concentrate. So I can't actually see it. I haven't got it open, but I don't know what the chat's saying. But people probably aren't going to like.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, Graham?
It's very difficult because, like I've said it already, I think Keir Starmer is a very, very decent man. And I think he does believe in democracy, as I do. And I think he's trying to do a good job. But social media is absolutely battering him at every turn. And the BBC, and the Daily Mail, and the Telegraph, and the Sun. And, can you imagine what that man is up against?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's also a different playing field now, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's also a different playing field now, isn't it?
Exactly,
politically.
Yeah. Our Prime Minister now is dealing with nothing like he's ever dealt with before in history. The amount of information that people are bombarded with continuously. Now, having said that, I've already said as well, I don't think he's been a great Prime Minister. I don't think he's offered the change that the country needs. I don't think he's offered the inspiration that the country needs. But I'm not sure I believe Wes Streeting can either. And I really, really oppose his views on trans people and stuff.
I'd like to take what you're saying. Graham, I'd like to take what you're saying in a different direction. The thing the man lacks is moral responsibility. For somebody who was a human rights lawyer and did great things, when we see what he's achieved in office, including arms to a genocidal regime. I'm sorry. And standing there and saying that Israel has the right to starve civilians, that goes beyond goal. And it shows a lack of moral compass for a man who was a human rights lawyer. And his kowtowing to the US in Washington is almost frightening.
Yeah.
No matter how people's perception is of how he comes across in the international stage as a reasonable man. Because what we actually see when we see in the actions of the government, the actions of the state, is more important.
Yep. Yeah. What's happening?
Primary job of government is to protect the people. Starmer's not protecting these people. He's selling them out for money.
Do you think so?
Aye, and he's making us morally complicit in something which is repugnant.
I was quite happy with this stance they seem to have taken about Trump attacking the boats in the he's claiming that are delivering drugs to America, and they're clearly not, and he's attacking them in international waters. And Starmer seems to have taken a little bit of a stance on that, which I was quite heartened to hear.
But he's doing is that, like, it's the same thing right now with the BBC, which we'll come into in a moment, right? With the BBC, right? As of right now, if you listen to what he was put on the spot, Prime Minister's questions about the BBC, for example, right? And the BBC, which is an organisation which is highly, has a high approval rating amongst the UK audience, right? He didn't criticise Trump for lashing out at the BBC. But the question, I suppose, is, like, is he going to stand up for the BBC if it gets sued by Trump? See, because we have to remember that as much as I know people can't stand the TV licensing, and I'm one of them, you know, that's British taxpayer money could potentially going straight into Donald Trump's coffers. And I don't know about you guys in the chat. I don't want £1 billion of our money going straight into a TV license, going straight into Donald Trump's pocket. And
no, he's not getting £1 billion, but it might end up with some sort of settlement, like £200 million or something. And that even that I think is just not acceptable. We should not give in to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting £1 billion though.
No, I don't care either way. For me, the damage is done. And you got to remember, guys, I'm coming from a different country, a different perspective. The BBC is used here every day to tell me how crap I am and how crap my country is and how crap my institutions are and everything else. Whereby every marker, the ONS say we're performing better than any other part of the UK. How can that be? Right. When I go and put my radio on at 6 a.m. in the morning for the morning paper review, I'm told that everything in my country is shite when it's markedly better than what it is in other parts of the UK, according to the Office of National Statistics. Yeah, I go out my bed every morning, and the BBC, as the national broadcaster, tells me that my country is in decline. When it comes to UK markers, my country is outperforming every other part of the UK. How the fuck can that be true? That tells me that the BBC is an institution which is designed to put my people down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when
I believe it happens in the regions in England as well, because if you can keep you conflicting against each other, you can't unite against the fuckers.
The moment when I lost faith in the BBC, I watched them get more and more right wing after the Tories got in. But the moment when I absolutely lost faith and just decided that I thought the BBC, it should consider around the world because it's a great institution around the world. But in the actual UK, the BBC News is shockingly biased and prepared to lie to us. And at the time when I realised that, and it's relevant to quite recently, was that time when Boris Johnson went and put the wreath upside down on the cenotaph. And instead of showing that footage, the BBC found some old footage and showed that instead. and pretended that that was recent. And then when obviously somebody clocked them to it, they tried to say, oh, it was just a mistake that a researcher made. And it was so obvious that they had so little respect for the British public.
We did that here in Scotland.
The Welsh public and the Northern Irish public. They obviously had so little respect for everybody in the UK that they were prepared to lie to us to stop Boris Johnson looking silly. And that was when I lost faith in the BBC.
It's been happening to us since 2012 when they were into wartime propaganda here. And we used to get First Ministers snipped on the BBC to make it look as if the SNP MSPs were disapproving of our First Minister. When he was giving answers at Prime Minister's, First Minister's questions, they would snip previous things that were previous reactions that came from questions or answers to another party, and they would put a disapproving look to another party where they were asking a question and put it in when Mr. Salmon was giving his answers. At one point, they even made it look as if John Swinney, his deputy First Minister, was looking as if he was a fucking, some sort of outrage.
Yeah.
When actually, when John was looking like that, it was when Ruth Davison had asked her to get,
Oh, I can't hear you properly there.
Annabelle Gould.
We just cut out, David.
Yeah.
So snapping stuff, and
I think we might have slightly gone off track a little bit there. I think Megan wants to steer it back on.
No. We were going. No. We were going to go into the BBC anyway, so it makes logical sense. I think this is. Wales made an interesting point here. He says, I'll put it up on the screen. I think it's an interesting comment. Although I find that it dangerous and the confliction of all the BBC when the real issue is the BBC News media. BBC is actually great for TV programs, but its bias in news media is the death of it.
I would agree with that. And I agree with your point as well, Reganelite, when it comes to entertainment. No, I've been watching television over 12 years, but when it comes to entertainment and drama, costume
documentaries, like there's certain documentaries they've done some great stuff, and they still do great stuff. Yeah, if you take out the politics in the news, like they do some really good stuff. And I mean, like, how many times have you guys heard the show Traitors and you have no idea what it's about? Yet it's really, really popular. It's a BBC show, and it's doing really well right now. Like,
I've heard of it, but I don't watch the television, so I haven't watched it. But I have heard of it.
No, same here.
But I mean, if you think of the works that the BBC have done that we do watch, us guys that don't watch TV on YouTube and things like that, like the Blue Planet, absolutely fantastic. That's what the BBC is good at.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they become untrustworthy on news and using current affairs. And I've tracked the history of that. I did a piece for Andy Luke's channel on it. For when political discourse was opened up to the media in the 1770s, all the way through. And when I go to the Second World War, when the wartime propaganda was on, the media, the people who owned the media at the time realised that they could start to actually influence public opinion as opposed to provide information. And that's sort of when they stopped holding truth to power. And then, of course, we add in the 1980s with the advent of digital, the Sky television, and the widening media. And then all of a sudden, we got in 2010, and you get a 24-hour news in social media because of digital technology.
Yes.
And that's where the quality of the news started to dissipate. But what happened was the moguls that owned all these platforms realised that they could start to set the narrative.
Yeah.
Rather than hold truth to power. I've studied this stuff, and it's fascinating. And the pivotal point was definitely the Second World War. Because all these media outlets were obeying the government and putting out government-style propaganda to keep the people on side with the shortages, the hardship, and all these things that were going on. And at the end of that period, as we get into the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, the media started to realise, the media moguls especially, that they could set the narrative.
Yeah.
And they could control governments. And we've seen right now, you can't be Prime Minister in the UK if you've not got Rupert Murdoch on side.
Yeah. This is where we keep going. How many times do we talk about media reform, and how many times, we just don't have somebody who's prepared to do what is necessary to do to change especially with the is it the Leveson inquiry? Is that it? Yes. Like, how many times has that been shelved? Like, I remember the build up to the election. You remember the build up to the election? He was told that
I'll release it. I'll implement the Leveson.
No. He said to them, "I will." He said to them in meetings. I think it was the Telegraph. I think it was, or one or two other papers, like papers that wouldn't endorse him. He said, like, I'm not going to do it. And I think he got the backing of the Sun late on in his election campaign run because he said that to them. I think he did as well.
Is Murdoch no godfather of one of his kids?
One of his kids is definitely taking over the empire. Yeah, one of his sons is definitely taking over it.
You mean Tony Blair?
No, one of his actual sons, actually.
But these guys, they build political dynasties. You know, they get themselves into the Lords, they get themselves they've got lifetime periods. But more importantly, if they can get a hereditary period granted to them, then they've moved up the social circle to when they're always holding power. We've recently had this happen here in Scotland, because under the Treaty of Union, there's going to be 16 hereditary lords for Scotland in the House of Lords. And one of the families recently died out, the Sutherlands, the Southern Highlands. And they appointed a new one, Lord Jack McConnell. And his heirs will be known for new own as Lord or Lady McConnell. And that's how they hold the power. The privilege and the patronage.
Yeah. So here's a good question. And what do you guys think in the chat? Is the BBC finished? Is the BBC going to be done, or is the BBC going to get, like, here's a good question. The question isn't just is the BBC going to end? Is it going to get slimmed down? Is it going to get eroded? We expect the TV license to go and be replaced with a subscription at some point. That has to happen. I think everyone is in agreement of that. But what do we think is going to happen to the BBC? Whatever happens after, like, do we see the BBC disappearing altogether? I don't know if it's going to disappear altogether. I don't want to see it privatized. That's the worst thing, because it's just going to end up becoming like GB News or something like that. That's what I think. I don't want it being private.
Yeah. I guarantee you the BBC News will continue to be state funded and taxpayer funded.
Yeah, they've got to have an outlet.
Correct. They've got to have an outlet.
Yeah. I think they'll fight for it for that reason alone. But
even I
it would be a really bad thing if we lost the BBC, because there is, you know, if you read things about the wars and stuff and all throughout the 60s and 70s and things, the people around the world who tuned into the BBC and trusted it because they felt it was something that was an institution. I don't want to lose that. I think the home news is stupidly right-wing biased, the BBC.
And now we get the perspective.
I'm conflicted because I feel for them as well, and I think I don't want to lose them to somebody like Donald bloody Trump. I don't want to.
Agree with you guys. You do not want to lose the BBC, but now we come back to the perspective of my nation. Yeah, we want to lose the BBC. We don't want the BBC. We might buy your programmes, but we don't want you operating in our country. We don't need your state propaganda machine operating in our country.
I suppose this is where independence will come into it, because if Scotland voted for independence, then they'd have to give the BBC the rights to come in, whereas now the BBC probably feel like they can because they're part of the UK.
BBC will be forced to change if they go if Scotland goes independent. If they want to broadcast the way they are now in Scotland, if they go,
we'll do what Southern Ireland does. We'll buy the bits we want. Your entertainment programmes, the stuff we were talking about today, we'll buy that. We'll just block your news. Because I'm fed up hearing the weather where you are when it's not the weather where I am.
Well, I do get the weather where you are.
I think you know the BBC, Regan. You know, I don't need your news before I get my news.
I cover the whole of the UK.
I don't need your weather before I get my weather because you're relevant. Your weather's not fucking relevant to me.
Well, you don't care if I freeze or get sunburnt?
You're less likely to fucking freeze than I am, so no. Let me be brutally honest about the BBC for different perspectives in different countries.
Yeah.
Your darling institution is a propaganda machine in my country, which tells me from the minute I go to my bed to the minute I go to my bed that I'm inferior to you.
Well, that's just no, clearly.
But that's what it does. You guys won't be aware of it, but that's what it does. It tells us that all our institutions...
I can understand how you feel like that, but it's that's what I mean. It's just not right, is it? Because it's clearly not true.
What I'm trying to do is give you a different perspective on the BBC, because I know the same thing happens with you are, because Liverpool's seen as an alien place in England.
Because they don't have the sun, that's why they kicked them out.
It's because they are they're a very true community. Well,
we remember in Liverpool, that's why we don't go Tory and we don't entertain Tommy Robinson.
That's right, because what they want is a community that's cohesive. They recognise each other. They're very much like us Scots, actually. And that's why you...
I get that a lot in my comment section. But I do feel that Reform are creeping into the Northwest, though. They really are. I hate to say it, but I see it, and it is true.
Because there is an awful lot of dissatisfaction with the existing political parties. Because when we look at Tory and Labour...
You could say maybe that's the army.
You couldn't put a fag paper between the Tories and Labour right now. And remember, I live in the very place 2 miles away from the Labour Party came from inception. And I look at the Labour Party today based on what it was set up on. And I don't see a difference between Tory and Labour. The word that replaces Tory and Labour for me is state. The word that replaces Tory and Labour for me is state-sponsored party. The state's become an entity that protects itself rather than being an entity that protects the people.
Darren, how do you feel about the BBC?
Well, I think the last time I watched BBC, I think Dirty Den was in EastEnders. And that's... Yeah, so I'm not. I don't really watch it. Now, from what I can gather, they do make a lot of money from their selling their whatever they create abroad, don't they? So
I can give you a number, darling.
Now why do that not surprise me, my dear friend?
1.75 billion.
You don't surprise me.
I did. I was actually covering a story on it a couple of days ago and looked it up. Nice. The BBC generates 5.1 billion a year.
Wow, not to be sniffed at, is it really? But
no,
I do. Yeah, but as I say, I didn't watch the program, and I didn't really see. The reason why I didn't watch it because I thought, well, what's the point? He basically tried to steal democracy.
I know enough about it. Yeah.
By the way, I should clarify that last statement. 3.8 billion of that is gathered from license fees.
Yeah,
it's only 1.75 billion after tax, which is gathered through commercial enterprise.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
But 1.75 billion is a fair chunk of change.
It certainly is not to be sniffed at. I won't mind it in my bank account. That's for certain. But yeah, it was a case of I didn't really understand why people like KGBBs constantly going out. You've got Zelda from Terror Rocks, Carol Malone. She's constantly going on about it. Yeah, Graham, you're laughing. Graham, you're laughing. You know who I'm talking about, Zelda from the Terror Rocks. Yeah. But yeah, because like it's, and I didn't watch it, and because like as I said, it was a case of, well, I don't need to watch a programme to tell me that he tried to cause an insurrection. I know. It was clearly obvious. He was sending the messages, you know, fight like hell, and stuff like that. So why would I want to watch it? And I don't really understand why everybody was getting so bent out of shape because they cut that little bit up, really. And I think it was just an odd one for me. And so, don't get me wrong, for me, it sounds like they really shouldn't have done it but I get the feeling that's old habits.
Yeah.
That's a bit of old habits creeping in. They seem to, because it always reminded me.
Editing.
Yeah.
Oh, Darren, you just gave me a light bulb moment there.
Yeah.
Because you just sparked the point when they started kicking in.
Yeah.
And it goes back to Tony Blair in the Iraq situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, they came up at the time that a few of the parliamentary submissions which were broadcast had been doctored because there were people out there watching it live who'd captured footage, and when they were watching it back, the footage was different. But I would need to look back at it, but I think you're right. And I think it goes back to the dirty dossier on mass weapons of destruction for Iraq.
Yeah. I
think it does.
Yeah. But yeah, it just like, it can't. Has anybody watched that old I think it was an old 80s program called A Very British Coup?
Sounds familiar.
It was a guy. Swear.
It's been so long since I can't remember.
Yeah, because like it's where, you know, where I suppose maybe possibly, well, it'd probably be England and well, Britain possibly, I can't quite remember, where they decided to do something intelligent and vote in a socialist prime minister that had all. Yes, exactly, Graham. But yeah, and I remember it kind of reminded me because like there would be interviews on where they'd be doing the BBC where they were just as much in on it, on the conspiracy to get rid of this socialist prime minister, because you know that position ain't for the likes of from a steel worker from Sheffield. That's for that position's for the elite, the likes of us.
Or someone who's bad.
Yeah, and they'd have and the BBC will be in on it, you know, doing the conspiracy meet. I think there's one cracking bit. It's one of my favourite bits where it's I've forgotten the name. It's Lily Allen's father. I've forgotten his name now. He played he played his press secretary, and he's a proper right socialist, and his girlfriend's family's highly bred. They don't approve of him, and she don't approve, and they don't approve, and he don't approve of them. But and they're having a talk. And one of his things was Harry Pickering. He likes to play darts, and so they go up in that room because he knows it's not bugged. Sorry if I'm boring you, Regan. I do apologise.
No, I'm tired. I'm tired. I already said before we went live, I'm tired. You guys
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I know. But my wife says that all the time. Yeah. She's got that look on her face. She's got that look on her face. Will you shut up, Darren? You're talking out your ass now. Yeah. But anyway, clearly there is a conspiracy to oust him from the job, and he asked his press secretary go hunting around and this and that and the other, because like people were conspiring against him. MI5 were getting people in on the power strikes. Yeah. Getting people in who were on the take in the power unions and this and that and the other. And he's got this blackboard where he's putting all these names, and this person's gone to this, and these people meet at the same health spa, this and that and the other. And it all turned out to be his rather aspiring, desperately wanting to be Prime Minister, Chancellor of the Exchequer, who was quite the, the Tony Blair types. It turned out he was conspiring to oust him.
If you remember when it was broadcast, I think if I remember right, it was in the mid-80s, and it was during the Lech Walesa and Solidarity period.
Yeah. I think it was about
sort of like a slant against Poland trying to break free from Russia's chain.
Yeah. Because like in the film, the I've forgotten the name of the guy who was playing the Rupert Murdoch type. They do slightly mention about the Polish, what you've just mentioned there, so it just rings true. Yeah,
the Solidarity movement was in full
Solidarity movement, yeah.
Right across Poland.
Yeah.
And funny you're talking about the socialists becoming the Prime Minister. Like Walesa went on to become the Prime Minister.
Yeah. I think what frightened all the establishment, because he wanted to go neutral and tell America and get all their bases out of this country. Go on, off you trot, get out of here.
If I remember correctly, it was running about the Solidarity movement time.
Yeah.
In the 80s,
Yeah.
And that's of course what triggered the falling of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
And the breaking away, and then the Velvet Divorce and all that sort of shit. The history's quite interesting there. But I remember that programme. It's been a long time since I watched television. You've sparked my memory, because I haven't turned the television set on in 12 years.
I don't blame you. And information is much easier online than it is on TV. But we're not at I don't think we're at a point where television is completely gone, because there's still that generation of people who still watch it, but we're not at that point where everything is. Of course, yeah. We're still not completely at that point. It's like saying, and I'm going slightly off topic here. But it's like my dad keeps saying we're going to be a cashless society, and I just don't see the logic for it, at least right now. Like, especially. Like, I just feel like that a cashless society would be such a terrible thing, because it would mean that the banks would control so much over our lives.
Regan, I'm going to say a quick thing that's going to make Darren and Graham smile, and that is video killed the radio star.
The Buggles.
And there will always be a place for television.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. It's about how they wise up to survive in the environment we live in.
Yeah.
But video definitely killed the radio star. In fact, right now, radio is as powerful as it's always been.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just adapted. It's now on your phone. It's gone from a radio box to on your phone.
Aye, but more importantly, I mean, it's went from radio stations defying government and putting ships out just outside international waters to being mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, so when we talk about television and its place in the future, video didn't kill the radio, and social media won't kill.
No, I don't think television is going anywhere for another 20, 30 years. Maybe then things will have changed so much that it might be different. But I think we've got a long time to go before television stops having an effect on people. If that was the case, then GB News wouldn't be a thing, and Fox News wouldn't be a thing.
No,
you know, obviously television's still got an influence on people.
Talk TV would never get off the ground. Community TV wouldn't get off the ground. No, TV's got a long way to go.
Yeah. It's not dead.
Well, it has a place in our society. Yeah. I mean, some of us might not use it because of a repugnance, or absolute repugnance at what it produces at this point in time. No, because we don't really rely very much on TV for our media now.
No, it's all right here.
What we do is we look at TV and say, what's the narratives they're pushing? And then we go and do the research ourselves. It doesn't take long. We've got a search engine.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And as long as you know how to use a search engine, then you can find out the truth very, very fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Most Chris Fisher says most under 40s don't watch TV. Broadcast TVs for over 40s. It'd be interesting to see what the numbers actually say. I'd be very curious to see what the I'd be interested to see as a percentage of the percentage of that in comparison to streaming and whatnot. But I don't think it would be. I don't know how accurate that would be, to be fair, as well.
I can quickly find out for you, but I type a lot of fucking jackhammer, so the noise would be unbearable.
Be like
that one finger, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you just got me under there. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Graham touched on it. There. So let's. It's one of the biggest stories in the world, and I would go as far to say the world is that, and a story that Donald Trump can't get rid of, can't shake off in any way, shape, or form is, of course, the Epstein files. No matter what he tweets on True Social, no matter how much he says everyone to shut the fuck up.
Are you talking about the Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein. Have you heard of him? I don't know. Have you heard of the guy?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah, apparently so.
The guy that refuses to die. I'm going to disagree him and get off my chair for 2 seconds.
No worries.
Too late, Graham. Too late. Too late.
There's your thumbnail, Reganelite.
There we go. Can't not talk about it. New stuff has come out, and I've got to say, actually, what's kind of curious is that this was not actually the Democrats who brought out the new information. It was actually the Republicans, which kind of really does. It's quite interesting because I think there is, from a American's perspective, there is a bit of a when it comes specifically to the Epstein files. I think there's a lot of Republicans, and especially Republican voters, who want to see the Epstein files fully released. They want all the documents out there. They want it all exposed because that's what they've been building up to, all the way up to their election. Because this is what he kept talking about, and all these right-wing influencers and content creators and whatnot, all were saying about release the Epstein files, this, that, and the other, right? And yet they come into power, and they release bits and bobs over time, but nothing really solid. Nothing really that's really giving people, those who have suffered, the justice they deserve. And the thing is, we know why they're not going to release. They don't want to release it, or they're going to do everything they can to stop it being released. And that is Because it would bring down so many people. It would bring down so many Republicans. It would bring down so many Democrats. It would bring so many down celebrities. It would expose. And we're not just talking about Americans here. As we know, Peter Mandelson is fucked either way because of his love obsession with Jeffrey Epstein. Poor Prince Andrew, who nobody gives a fuck about, he's going to definitely face.
Poor Prince Andrew.
Yeah, couldn't give two shits about him, to be fair. But like, there's so many connections. Like, and it's one of them. Like, I thought that Harvey Weinstein was a diabolical, disgusting individual for what he did. But I feel like Epstein is just like the pinnacle of one of the most horrific, nastiest, evilest, and vile human beings that the human race has ever made. And we talk about it like what Hitler done. I just think what this guy has done, the lengths that he has gone to cover up what he's done and cover up his mates what he's done and those who have helped him. And the victims in all of this still to this day still can't get the justice they deserve. Some of them who know who their victims are can't talk publicly about it. And yet so-called democracy in America can't help them can't bring them the justice that they rightfully deserve, because there are people in positions of power who will be exposed if it comes out. And I'm just thinking, when, if ever, is it ever going to come out? That's the question I really I would like to ask. And I want you guys in the chat to say so as well. Before I pass on to David Guess, I just want to say thank you, Mr. E, for the £2 super chat. The 3-in-1 squeaky chair oil fund. Who's got an oil? Is that me? I don't know if that's me. I don't have an.
No, it's me that's got a squeaky chair.
You sure it's not Charlie just pressing on the chair?
No, Charlie's just in my lap, as you were seeing, but he's fine. But hey, on this situation, hold the truth out. Well, non-disclosure agreements are a thing in law, and a lot of these victims have been signed up and signed non-disclosure agreements. But that makes things harder to get to the centre of truth. And we talk about non-disclosure agreements. Let's talk about a very recent one worth 12 million quid between Her Majesty the Queen and...
I've never given 12 million quid to somebody to shut up about something I didn't do.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, one of the problems that we face in finding these people out is they can buy their victims off and make them sign non-disclosure agreements to stay wealthy the rest of their life. If you're a billionaire, you don't mind getting £1 million a year to keep somebody's gob shut.
Nope. A chicken face for what?
We've seen Her Majesty the Queen do that in Andy's case. And I'm sorry, folks. I always thought quite highly of Lizzie, but that one turned my stomach.
Yeah, same here. I always had a high opinion of her, but I thought that was wrong.
She was everybody's wee old granny. Even here in Scotland, even as Republicans here in Scotland could stomach her. But
I could have accepted her just doing nothing, distancing herself from it, and not contributing and not saying anything, because we were kind of used to it being a sort of a silent presence. I could have accepted it if she'd have just not got involved in any way. But when I heard where that money come from, I wasn't happy.
And I say, but what people have to remember, and this is the important thing here, a lot of this information will never make it into the public realm, become something called an NDA.
Yeah.
A non-disclosure agreement.
Yep.
A settlement like Andy had with on Australian, the last extent in Australia. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, unfortunately.
Virginia Guthrie.
That was it, Guthrie. That's the name I was looking for, Guthrie.
Yeah.
And 12 million quid. And had they done nothing wrong? Aye, bite me. What was interesting was her non-disclosure agreement had a posthumous clause in it to say the information could come out after she was dead. And it looks like somebody put her down. She got her revenge. And I'm no one for conspiracy theories.
Very interesting.
But she's entered into a non-disclosure agreement with the Crown.
Yeah.
And if you want to look up the legal stuff that's involved in that 12 million quid, I bet there's a non-disclosure agreement there. I bet you. But if I remember right, it was one way, no posthumous clause in it, which meant that if she was dead, this information could be released.
And Chris Fisher points out something. This is why leaks are so important. Whistleblowers.
Yes.
Breaking state corruption using NDAs.
I mean, if you look at the American whistleblower that had to run to Russia for protection, I mean, it's got to a point in society where governments persecute whistleblowers. Whereas governments should be looking for people to let them know where the system's letting others down. So we can fix the system. We shouldn't be persecuting whistleblowers. We should be thanking them for pointing out mistakes in our system.
Yeah.
I suppose in a little bit of a way, the other problem with that is, I think the system is working just fine for them people, though, isn't it? I think that's the trouble.
That's right. It's a bit like myself this morning when I was talking about, different attitudes to the BBC in different parts of the world and from different points of view. I mean, the BBC World Service. As a young man, wherever I was in the world, I always tuned into BBC World Service.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant when I said earlier on about the people around the world who do depend on it.
It really balanced media coverage because its editors were placed in the areas where they were reporting on. Yeah. And they were neutral in the area they were reporting on. So your southeast editor for the World Service, and the last one of the ones that was the southeast editor of the World Service, a good friend of mine, was Watson. They could take an impartial and balanced view because they were outsiders. So people trusted that for the BBC. I think that's been trashed now because of the Trump thing and the editing. Even though it was pretty much what he said, just snipping 50 minutes at the middle of it. Will he win his case in court? No.
Yeah, Trump has had a terrible effect on media right around the world.
So's Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
So is all the talk about the Epstein files, is it just coming back to the Epstein files, is it just something that's just literally just going to drag on and on and on, and every now and then it's going to get brought up? Because we had more documents released. I mean, is this just going to be happening over the Trump administration, just tiny little leaks here and there? What are we thinking then?
This goes above Trump's pay grade. He'll be thrown to the wolves.
Interesting, because it's not going away, is it? It's just not going to go away. I just
to make it go away, they're going to throw Trump to the wolves, and probably Andy as well, and a few others whose names will come out.
Yeah.
And the families who these wealthy people come from will throw them under a bus. They will, because they want to protect their wealth. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever studied the history of empires, but when empires collapse, what happens is the head of the empire, the head of the family that takes over the wealth.
Davey, I can't hear you. Your mic's cut out.
No, I'm struggling. Struggling there.
Sorry, David. We couldn't hear you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's working. It's fine. Yeah, it was just cutting out with the last bits you were saying there, so we couldn't hear you.
Well, on the history of Empire, when empires fall, what happens is the head of the snake's cut off. But the snake's siblings and children all hold the wealth, so they come to power again. They might even change their name, but they come to power again. And, you know, we see this hour and hour again. And we'll see this with the industrial wealth as well. The industrial wealth is what we now call old money.
Yeah.
You know, people like Carnegie and things like that. The philanthropists, we call it old money. And it's only been around for 100 years. When we talk about real old money, we're talking about, of course, the dukes, the barons, and that sort of thing. The ones that are on the civil list who get paid tax.
Graham, what do you think of the Epstein files? Of it all?
I think there's a hardcore of MAGA people who are going to deny that he's a monster right up until the moment that he, you know, turns up at the house and kills the children. There's some people that are just never going to accept that he. It's partly because they have faith in him, and it's partly because they refuse to admit that they were ever wrong to support him in the first place. But I do think all these little things are chipping away at his support. And I think the Epstein files is something that every time something comes up, it erodes his support a little bit further. And I think it's having an impact. But like Davey said, I don't think it's necessarily going to bring him down in the next 3 months or the next 6 months. I think it's just, it might be the thing that will stop people letting him run next time, or stop people, you know, letting him win the midterms next year. But I don't think it's a cataclysmic thing that's going to take him out of office.
What do you think, Darren?
I'd say it's just fascinating. What?
What's that?
Oh,
could you not?
Right.
Do you want to start that again? Sorry, Darren.
All right. I just found it fascinating to watch, because like it's just, you look at these MAGA people and who are stalwart Trump fans, and it blows my mind that they will still defend him. No, he was not involved in, and it's clearly obvious he was, because you cannot be trying so desperately to hide them if you're not involved. And the more it keeps happening, the more it's a little bit like the more you keep repeating it, the more it starts to become truth, doesn't it? In a little bit of way, in a funny little way, because I just watched when I saw these emails popping out, and like you just said, the little drip, drip, drip feet. Do you know what it kind of reminded me? Remember Bojo's COVID parties? You know,
yeah.
Then denying it, then a little bit more were coming out, then a little bit more were coming out, until it got to the point where it was there saying there were no parties in my house, and then there was parties, but I wasn't there, and
then there was a picture of him there, and it's just like, well, I was at the party, but I was only there for a little bit.
Yeah.
He was presenting the cake to the Chancellor, of course.
Yeah. I was ambushed by a cake.
No, David, he was ambushed by a cake. Ambushed by a
cake. Of course, I impressed.
Yeah. Got to remember the facts.
Yeah,
that's when we see in the media it's very lowest.
Yeah.
And it's lowest. It was snake's belly low.
Yeah. Because like it just seems to be, you know, there's got to be more coming out, and there's got to be more coming out. But let's be honest.
But the way they were trying to shelter this man was fucking comical.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Well, I didn't know it was a party. What do you mean you didn't know it was a party? You'd 100 fucking people in your house, you spanner.
Yeah, yeah. I never saw no party.
What do you call that if it's not a party, you spanner?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the definition of a party.
Yes, there was no party in my house. No party in my house as he just falls over a bucket that's full of sick of puke.
It's not a party. It's work colleagues having a little drinking here and there. It's
letting off steam.
I think
oh, that's it. It was a gathering. Kirsty says it's a gathering. It was a gathering, guys.
I think Sir Larry Cat was complaining about the mistakes in the corridors and peeing up against the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's
like Boris Johnson telling Matt Hancock, "Go do it. Can you not do it here? Can you do it somewhere else, please?"
Yes, not in the cupboard, you two. But yeah, there seems to be drip feed, and like you say, when it said that seems to have come from Republican senators, that is interesting. That is very, very interesting. And
just to add on that, before you carry on there, I was listening to, because Vosh was really looking into that. Vosh, who's one of the big left wing.
Yeah, I know of
YouTubers.
I've
because he was asking that direct question, like telling people, like, did this definitely come? Like, he was asking chat and he was looking like, did this definitely come from Republicans? Can you guys confirm this definitely came from Republicans? And it's like, we definitely want the Democrats. So it's like, it had to be the Republicans. But yeah, it's a bit, it's odd that Republicans are doing that. Go on, carry on. Sorry.
But yeah, no, it's all right. But let's say when you said that is fascinating. That is really, because like I think the montage for the Democrats is they should have for their speeches. The Democrats, we grab defeat from the jaws of victory, you know, and so it definitely wouldn't have come from the Democrats because they'd have fucked it up anyway. But so. Well, they would have done, wouldn't they? Well, they would have done.
They fucked up the government shutdown. The government's reopened.
Yeah. No. Sorry, Reagan.
Okay. Not the Democrats.
No. This is my
Democratic senators. Go on.
This is my Chuckle Schumer. We will win. We will win. We will win. That's our chuckles for you. But yeah. And so I'm wondering, is this the little step where they're gunning for him?
I think the Republicans realise they've become so repugnant with the policies that he's introduced in the big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that's going to affect.
Yeah.
There's just no way that he can survive it. Well,
there's just one problem though. There is just to add, there's one big problem though for Republicans, especially for those like who own states and whatnot. If they go against Trump publicly, they get pushed aside. They get fucked at the next election. That's always happened.
The next election anyway, so that's what we're looking at.
But they still toe the line. They still toe the line.
There's got to be an election.
Right, but that's the thing. Election. I mean, I stated this morning that I don't think so. I think the ballrooms there get being built for his memorial.
Or is it a bunker?
The Epstein ballroom.
The Epstein ballroom.
That's what they should call it.
The Epstein memorial ballroom being built to celebrate the great leader who will lead until he dies.
Yeah.
Which,
monster.
Looking at history, will not be that fucking long.
No.
He got that young, and that's the second time I've said that tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if the 80s that young, but his dad was popped his club by 86, was it not? Dementia.
Yeah. Well, Trump may be one of the oldest. Trump may be an old US president, but he's got nothing on the Cameroon president who's been re-elected again at the age of, 91, 92. So he'll be there for another 4 or 5 years.
I bet he ran to Plinth.
He is a spring chicken. You know, himself.
He's been. I can't remember the Cameroon's president's name, but he's been president longer than I've been born, and I'm 37. So,
No, but I've got to say though, have got to say, I've only got a few living relatives, and one of them is my auntie, and she's 81. She's just turned 81, and she is as sharp as a button, and she's left wing, and she's switched on. She reads all the right media and everything. So I don't think Trump is stupid and evil because he's old. Trump is stupid and evil because he's a stupid, evil man. And you know, and it's the same for Rupert Murdoch. You can be old and still be with it and still be sharp.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're up. I do have to agree.
I think one of the narratives out of Donald Trump, is that he generally believes everything that he says.
Yes.
If he says the polls, if he thinks the polls are down, if he gets told the polls are down, no, it's not true. The polls are up. He says, "I'm saying the polls are up." No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
The polls are up.
Yeah.
I know they're up. They're up.
Yeah.
It's just you're all wrong. Like, you can't tell Trump he's wrong. He doesn't accept being wrong. All his life, he's been told that he's Mr. Know-it-all, Mr. Right. He's been brought up to think a certain way, a certain narrative in his mind. He doesn't understand struggle. He doesn't understand what it means to make mistakes and be wrong in life. He never accepted the 2020 election defeat. Never accepted it. You know, he always could. That whole period between then and being re-elected, he still wanted to be called Mr. President, despite the fact that he's not president anymore. But
just like somebody said something that was interesting, and I think there's a little bit of truth in it with him. He says these things because he actually believes them to be true. I think that's why he makes his lies so convincing. That he actually believes it. I think he actually believes it, and I think that's the difference between him and Vance. Donald Trump says this complete lie because he actually believes it, whereas JD Vance, he will try and say the lie, but his face will give him away because he knows he's talking bollocks. And before I finish, sorry for my juvenile sense of humour. This Cameroon president who's been flown in to be president again, did he go to the plinth and say, "The people have voted for change"?
No, actually, he said the people are voting for continuity.
After 30 plus years.
People, what seems to rule politics a lot nowadays is leaders making people frightened to change to anything else. You know, the Tories.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's the leaders nowadays. They don't seem to want to rule by popularity. There's a difference between popularity and populism. They don't want to rule by popularity and being supported by the public. They want to rule by frightening the public into not voting for anyone else. And it's having a terrible effect on democracy all around the world.
It's actually creeping into Scottish politics as well. Because we are shit scared of having an English registered party in government.
Yeah.
Shit scared. Because they want to realign their tax system and everything with the rest of the UK. And let's face it, your tax policies now are fucking regressive. No.
Let me just point out the Cameron president, Paul Billa, I think you see his name, presidential term from November the 6th, 1982. Born in 1933, aged 92 years.
Man carries all the wisdom on his shoulders.
I don't begrudge anyone a long life, but good Lord. When you
96, I think he'll be by the time his next election is, or 97, something like that.
How old is
Bernie Sanders when he makes it to the presidency?
There's hope for Bernie Sanders then, isn't there?
There is.
Yes.
Only Bernie Sanders was about 55. You know, the world would be a better place, wouldn't it?
I'll take Bernie Sanders. I don't like. I know he's old, but he hasn't lost it here. You know, so I definitely would take him.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah. Some people say he's like an American Jeremy Corbyn, don't they? And I do think there is aspects of that, but he's got more realism to him than Jeremy Corbyn ever had. He's more of a pragmatist than Jeremy.
He has
Corbyn.
faults like every other politician, but he also understands what the people of America needs as well.
Exactly. You know.
That's for sure.
To be fair to Jeremy Corbyn, I'm no Labour man. I'm not as left as Jeremy Corbyn portrayed himself.
Yeah.
But what I would say is Jeremy's heart was based in the idea that we should all be well served by our services, and we should protect the people, because the people are the biggest assets of any nation.
Exactly.
I mean, if we look at unemployment figures in England right now at 5%, and unemployment figures in Scotland right now at 3.7%, and then we look at the studies done or what tuition fees did to the education standards in England, having no tuition fees in the education standards in Scotland did, then we understand why, if you're thinking about moving to the UK to be a manufacturing company, then you're looking to Scotland, because you've got a better educated population, we have better social contract and better living standards. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
It's a fundamental thing, but I think a lot of the problems in Western countries, especially England and America, comes down to education. People just haven't been educated how to critically think for about the last 40 years.
Yes.
People just blindly follow things.
So, you know what? I agree with you there, by the way, because if we look at when tuition fees were introduced in England, we're talking 1998, 1999.
Yeah.
And then we look at how the standards of a productivity in England is dropped and what the producers dropped. You can come out to a university in England, look for a job, and end up in Burger King flipping a fucking off, or McDonald's flipping a burger. You know, and that's a stereotype. They tell us, you know, you're just stereotyping these people. But actually, when you get right down here, in certain professions, we have more graduates than what we have need.
Yeah.
You know, even wage tuition fees in England. But when you look at the quality of industry in England and what it is people buy for England, it has dropped amazingly since the English population.
The last 30 years,
education standards has dropped.
Yeah.
Yes. People just have to look for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And come out of uni in England with a huge student debt, because he says, and that's why I didn't go to uni. Like, I said bollocks to that. I don't want to live with a debt. I know my younger brother went to it, and fair play, he's done all right for himself. But I just don't want the debt on my head, like to worry about. Like, that's not the kind of life I want to live. Like, having to think about that debt, like, it's just like it bothers me. Like, it puts me off. It put me off. Like, because I actually did a bit of college, and when I knew, and I did a bit of college, during when I was in school, and there was an opportunity to progress in college and then go to university. But once I learned about debt, there was a debt. I said, I'd rather just that's not me. Like, I just don't. Like, I'm somebody that I don't like having debts. I'm just somebody that doesn't like having to worry about something that I need to pay for down the road, sort of thing. I'm someone that likes to just pay straight up front, sort of thing, and not have to worry about it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I don't even know if my brother's ever.
You never thought.
I can understand that, because after the 2008 banking crash, Sarah and I decided to take total control of our cash flow. And that meant taking some hard decisions. Because Sarah and I have basically reasonable jobs, we're well paid. Things like putting in a prepayment meter in the house, and people say, well, it costs you £2.50 extra a week. So fucking what? I could afford that. I'm in control of what I put in that electricity meter. I'm in control of how much power I use. And I can cut my cloth to my budget.
I don't think about that.
You just said the key word there, Davey, and that's control. You're in control. That's the worst. The worst thing is when you are not in control. And
Yes.
that's the thing that I despise more than anything, is when there's a saying I say, when circumstances are out of your control, is the worst possible thing, because it makes you feel
When we look at
helpless.
things that Sarah and I can be in control in, like cost of internet, cost of electricity, cost of phone connection, that sort of thing, then Sarah and I opt for options where it allows us to decide what we're spending each month. So we basically pay as we go Sims. So my internet and mobile phone charges are probably a lot lower than most, because we get offers through the year for the phone company where the usual 20 or 30 or 40 pound we spend on mobile phone and internet is offered at half price and things like that. So, for example, right now for £10, Sarah and I get unlimited calls, unlimited internet, and no one wants to internet for 40 gigs of internet. Sarah and I get through.
You might cut out there, Davey.
Yeah, see you later, bit, mate.
Sorry, your last little bits there got cut out again.
Yeah, struggling to hear you there, mate.
I apologise, folks. I live in a rural area, as usual know.
Just get Charlie off the wires, and you'll get Charlie off the mic, and it'll be all right.
No, Charlie can't get anywhere near the wires. They're rooted through the roof at this point in time.
I have to say, I was getting slightly worried earlier on when Davy's cat came on, and with Graham's dog, I thought we were going to have a cat and a dog scrapping live on live stream.
Nah, I didn't.
Scrapping at the screen.
You can't see them. She's blind as a bat. She can't see them.
Oh,
and even when she could see cats, she wasn't particularly bothered by them. I've had a few Jack Russells in my life, and people always say Jack Russells, yappy little bastards, and she is a little bit yappy sometimes. But she's never been cruel. She's never been snappy. She's never been like one that would snap at cats or dogs or people ever. She's always been a quite well-behaved dog in that aspect.
We had a Patterdale. As soon as she saw a cat, eyes grew like footballs, bulging out of her head, ready for an attack.
My last Jack Russell, I had evil.
Charlie lived in our garden for a couple of years because we had a dog at the time, and the dog would have ate Charlie. No messing. Plus, there was just a fucking monster.
I like this interesting. I like that, Roger Define, you just said there. Like, I had a dream job. I was a photographer for a while. Was a nightclub DJ with my own night and record label. To be honest, it's not always cracked up to be. You end up doing nothing else but working, and it comes down. And that's a very fair point. You're like, what good is a life if all you're doing is working non-stop? And this comes back to the cost of living, and this ties back to the whole cost of living crisis, because this is the one thing. There's all this talk about doing reducing work days from 5 hours to 4 hours. And we know that there are certain people who are against it, despite the fact that it actually gives people a bit more freedom to kind of do what they want. But the problem is obviously, as good as it sounds, it's no good if people can't still pay the bills, if people still can't afford to have a decent life. But I can't even say that, because we live in we have so much poverty, which while we are considered one of the wealthiest nations, we'll consider ourselves very wealthy, it's just infuriating. And
there is something I'd like to
one of the things I always say is that when we talk about people being able to have a life and live a life, I've said this before and I'll say this again. I'm very fortunate in the situation that I am in, because if I wasn't in this situation where I am living now, I would be working a 40+ hour shift. I probably wouldn't be doing this YouTube channel as much. I was doing it I was doing it for a while working, but I certainly wouldn't be doing as much as I'm doing now. I'd be I'd be working there and then doing this and then doing other stuff and whatnot. And it's just like I would have no time for life. I would have no time for my partner. I would have no time for like wrestling, because I love wrestling. It's a nice hobby of mine. It's my getaway from all this kind of stuff, you know. And it's so important to have an outlet instead of just working 24/7. It's just not good for you physically. It's not good for you mentally. It's not good for you psychologically. And it's just, what kind of a life if you are just working all the time? Like, I feel sorry for people who have to. I really do feel sorry for people who work 40, 50, 60 days a week, sometimes working 6 days a week and only getting 1 day off. Like, and they spend, what do they spend most of that day? Probably sleeping, if not just going to get what their basic essential needs.
That depends on
all their life is working.
That depends on your shift. I mean, if you take me, I regularly do a 6 day week, but I maybe only work 2 hours a day. So it's all about work-life balance. There's a lot in that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you take myself,
and it's not balanced.
It's not. It's no way near balanced.
It isn't for a lot of people, but for me it works. But as I say, I'm at a stage in my career. I'm at a stage in my career where I'm paid really well, and I'm maybe only to work for 2 or 3 hours a day because I've won something called a job and finish.
Yeah.
There's no, Graham, you'll remember that term, job and finish.
I don't know much about it. Rings bells, though. I've heard the term before. So
what it means is that whatever task is put in front of you, the minute you finish it, you can go home.
Yes. And my uncle worked for British Telecom for years, and I think that's where I've heard it. He used to be like that. He'd get his list of tasks for the day, go out and do them, and then go.
Yep, and you'd be guaranteed to be paid for the full 8 hours of the day.
Yes.
So I've got one of 8 contracts, a job and finish. I'm going to be working with 2 hours a day and get paid the full 8 hours. My average working week is 20 hours, I get paid 40.
Can't argue with that, can you?
No.
If only more people could be in that situation, If only more people had more time like that, imagine how much more creativity and stuff there would be in the world, or in the country at least.
Well, it allows me to put out content on YouTube and look after the other media outlets that me and David run, like Facebook and Twitter and things like that, or X as they now call it. So it lets us devote more time to charity work and things like that, because I'm fortunate enough to be in that position. But the job and finish, that used to be quite common. It's not common anymore. As you say, Graham, you've been given your work list. You went out and did your work list, and if you get through it quite fast and do it competently, you can get home after working 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm in that position in my state employment where I can, I get quite digital, quite modern. I get a work list sent to me each night, and I get my house at 6 o'clock. I'm generally back for 9.
Can't argue with that, can you?
No, and I'm paid 8 hours a day.
Life could be a hell of a lot worse than that, mate.
You can't whack it. I'm paid 8 hours a day.
But I heard there's a fella who lives next door, but one to me, and I heard him going out at 5:30 in the morning. I see him coming back at about 6 o'clock, and he must. I don't know what shift he does. I speak to him a bit, and he's a nice fella, but I hear him going out early in the morning all the time, and I think, God alone, that fella works so hard. And there's a few people like that around me.
Well, when I was in the truck, I used to get up at.
When
I was in the truck, I used to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. Start the shift at 6.
That's the middle of the night
for me,
that.
6, 7 at night.
Yeah.
When I was working in retail.
Yeah. Yeah, there was when I was
when I worked in retail, I was.
What's interesting about the way we set up work policy, now we're on this one, guys, and this should be interesting to people, is we tend to set up work policy around factory and office hours. And that means the 8 hour shift. But there are so many professionals that are out with that. You know. And that's why we have something called the Working Time Directive. At least we did have in the EU, where the maximum a driver could drive a day was 9 hours, but the maximum he could work was 15. And when he hit 60 hours a week, he had to chuck it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's wrong. Yeah.
Once you hit 60 hours a week, you're not allowed to get back in the vehicle. And remember, if you used up that 60 hours a week, that included your private car.
You'd start to hate it, wouldn't you? You'd start to hate every aspect of the inside of the lorry or whatever after that.
And the thing is right. I just touching on this as well, like, because we will be wrapping up soon, guys, because I know it's getting late for some people. Like, this is also ties it, like, it's obviously tied to the cost of living and as you mentioned, the unemployment rate going up. Like, if you want people to work, it's not just a case of just putting people in jobs and expecting them to do the jobs. It's got to be something that people want, people are comfortable with, or like nobody, there's lots of jobs that people do that they don't like doing anyway, but are content with them. There are some people who are doing jobs that they're not content with at all, but they have no choice. Because
of course, nobody likes.
There are some people who are in jobs that they are happy with, and there are people people are doing jobs that they are content with and they're happy with because it's something that they aspire to be, right? And this is where again it just goes back to like cost of living again, because like if the government generally cared about getting people back into work, and it's all well and good saying, is my mic cutting out? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know why my mic is cutting out.
No, you're all right.
I've been going live for a while. We will be wrapping up soon, guys. Don't worry. The point is obviously, God, I'm losing my train of thought now because I saw that. Oh God, I completely lost my train of thought now.
There are jobs that people don't want to see.
I was just saying that people will do jobs.
If we want, that's it. Thank you. The government like wants to get people back into work, right? And we all want people to work, right? Nobody wants to see people sitting on the dole, not doing anything. And of course, there are some people, as we all know, that there are people in certain situations, whether it's mentally or disability or whatnot, can't work for any sorts of reasons, right? But that number on people on entitlements is growing. That's growing. We know it's growing, and it's a problem, right? But we got to make the jobs we have to make the jobs suitable for them. We need to make sure that they're getting paid. Jobs are suitable for them, that they're at least content with, and that they're getting paid well enough so that they don't find themselves on the entitlement system. But the problem is, there's so many jobs out there that they're not like that, and that's a big problem.
It's meant to do with where the jobs are regularly.
Location matters as well, of course, yes.
Yes, of course. If you're living in a metropolis and the job's picking fucking strawberries in a farm 20 miles away, that's a problem. If you're living in a city and the only jobs that are available, and we talk about the million jobs on the job site for the UK government, you have to look at what they actually are. Mm. They're either highly specialised or they're rural. Or they're jobs that people don't want to do. Like Graham's point about nobody wants to be a bin man. But they do it because they know at the end of that 25 years in public service, they'll get a decent pension.
Yeah, and they should be better paid than they are.
Of course they are.
Or ambulance drivers and things like that. These are horrible jobs. But if they're well paid enough, people will do them. But at the moment, they're not.
The thing is, we learned through the pandemic that the most important person was the smallest cog in the wheel, the fucking cleaner.
Absolutely, man. Well said, yeah.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we realised that the fucking cogs and the wheels were upside down.
Yeah.
Because the most important person in the workplace is the person that keeps a place hygienic enough for you to work in it.
Yep.
I thought that
was relevant through the pandemic. How quickly did we forget that?
Yes. I thought it might change.
The truck driver, the cleaner, and the security guard become denigrated again as low-paid jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
when during that pandemic, they were the most important things that anybody did.
Mm-hmm.
They cleaned the touch points every time somebody went through a door.
Yeah.
The delivery driver that made sure there was food in his fucking supermarket to make sure you ate. All of a sudden, we realised the Prime Minister was a fucking minion. And the Queen was the bastion of society. Interesting what helps what these crises can do when it comes to perception of people. All of a sudden, the nurse, the Queen was the most important people on the planet.
Guys, my internet is starting to break a little bit, so we are going to have to wrap up.
Yeah, no, fine.
But just before we do, Darren, you want to have the last word on this all, because you haven't had a chance to speak on it.
I've forgotten what we were talking about.
Darren?
I was just engrossed in the conversation. I was just engrossed in the conversation.
Cost of living.
Cost of living.
I know.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I just feel sorry for the kids because they haven't got a chance. They haven't got a chance, have they? They've no chance of ever owning their own homes.
No.
Not unless parents are got to chip in. And so my lad, he works for that pub restaurant that we shall not mention. That has that wild man with dodgy haircut. He works in kitchens.
One that I mentioned in my videos quite often when talking about
and so my daughter and they have absolutely no chance. See, the thing is, I've said this before. I'm incredibly lucky because I own my own home. We bought it in the 90s. For about £32,000. Now you won't get a garage door for that nowadays, would you? There's absolutely no chance. And
I'm the same, Darren. I bought my house for £31,500.
Yeah.
Well.
So I just think I'm just incredibly lucky that I don't have to worry about barring that the house burns down. Touch wood, never happens. But you know, I'll be settled here, and I won't have any problems in that situation. But I look at the prices nowadays, and I think up here it's about, you won't get an house for about anything less for 120, 130 grand up here, and you know what I mean. And like the deposit for us are about £1,500. Nowadays it's about 30,000. And with the cost of living crisis, what kids have got chance? What?
I'll tell you what, Darren. I had a 100% mortgage. And on top of that, I lent my money to do the place up when I bought it.
Yeah.
You know, and that only came to £31,500.
Yeah.
You know, times have changed real, and you're right. It's about the kids and their future, and the hope, and there is no hope at this point in time. I mean, I feel sorry for young Reganelite there. I mean, he's in the renters market.
I'm not young. 37's not young for me.
If his
landlord feels young to me, mate.
You're young, he is, but hey.
I wish I was still 37.
If his landlord decides they want to sell up because they decide to retire to the Caribbean, then this young fella's on the street.
It's not that, unfortunately. But listen, I've got to stop, guys, because the internet is breaking up here, I'm afraid. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along tonight. Thank you for those who gave gifted memberships or super chats down below. It's greatly appreciated. I want to say thank you, Dave McGuinness, Graham Price, and Daily Blase for coming tonight. I really appreciate you guys giving your time to come on here and talk about all these different subjects. It's been very fascinating. I hope you guys found it interesting, informative, helpful in any way, shape, or form. It's good to have these discussions. And there will be another roundtable next month. I've got Jenny, Random Scottish History, and Wichikoff on for next month, which I'm very excited to have both of them on. So that'll be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know. I'm really looking forward to that for that one as well. And And I think apart from that, I've only got the usual live streams, and then the Eco Flake show with One Angry Pagan early December. But I don't have anything else planned for December because obviously, you know, the Christmas time is very busy to schedule anything. But of course, guys, just a quick reminder before we go, Daily Blase will have his Friday Frolics tomorrow at 5 p.m. So do join him for that. I'm sure he's going to have plenty for us. Yeah. Yes.
I do enjoy doing them myself.
Oh, yeah. And do check out.
The thing for me is I go to work at 6 o'clock at night, and so I miss an hour on graphics, but I still listen in because I know exactly what direction it's going in. And that's
guys, make sure you do check out Graham Price's Power to the Peoples as well. Great content he does there as well. So if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. And of course, guys, before you see me tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., make sure you are on the 2 Davies channel at 10:30 tomorrow morning, or Dave McGuinness is going to put you on the naughty step. Isn't that right, Dave?
Probably. If you're late,
I don't know.
If you're there on time, you don't need to go to the naughty step.
If you're late.
Remember, folks, the naughty step isn't just a naughty step. I put a candle under it to make sure you burn your arse on the way up. Because I grew up in the 1970s.
Okay, guys, thank you all again for coming along, and take care as always. And we will do this again, I'm sure, in the new year at some point, the three of us. So, okay, guys, thank you all for coming along. Take care and good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Literally. Night, everyone.